probably to a certain extent, but that's not the end of it. What they've been trying to hide is the fact that DeWanna Bonner is leaving to go play with her wife. Yeah, you heard that right. She has let other teams know to not pick her up in free agency because she wants to be picked up by the Mercury and she misses her wife. And
Dana Bonner just made what might be the most unprofessional move the WNBA has ever seen. And the reason she walked away from the Indiana Fever. It's not about basketball or minutes on the court, no. This runs way deeper. It's personal, messy, and it's got the whole league buzzing. The backlash has been harsh, and to be honest, might be exactly what she brought on herself. But here's a real question. Should personal relationships ever be allowed to disrupt a player's commitment to the game and their team like this?
Things I have ever seen in any level of professional sports, and it has to be addressed. If you're not familiar, DeWanna Bonner is cut from the Indiana Fever. We have just waived her and we've brought back Ari McDonald. DeWanna Bonner has not played in the last few Indiana Fever games, and we were all thinking it was because of personal reasons, and all us Indiana Fever fans were thinking it was something big. I even said on a few of my live streams, hey, we shouldn't talk bad about DeWanna until we know what's going on, because it could be something really bad going on at home. Maybe one of her family members have died. You don't want to talk bad about DeWanna Bonner at this point because she's out for personal reasons. It could be any reason. We just hope you come back soon. Well, we learned yesterday that DeWanna Bonner had no intention of coming back to the Indiana Fever. So initially we were wondering, hey, what is the reason? And the media has been feeding us this lie. The main reason why DeWanna Bonner is dipping out is because she wants to be in a starting position, and maybe she's mad about Lexi Holt outperforming her. Maybe she's mad about the fact that she's not getting the position of Natasha Howard on the team, and she's just been benched because she has not been playing well. They've also been saying that the fit is not well because she is a very slow player in a team that likes to play.
All right, folks. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, because Dana Bonner may have just redefined what unprofessional looks like in the WNBA. The reason she walked out on Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever is something that has no place in professional sports. Let's rewind for a second and look at what we were told versus what really went down. At first, the media handed us a neat little story. Bonner wanted more minutes, wasn't happy about Lexi Hull outplaying her, didn't mesh with the team's tempo, all fair reasons on paper for a veteran to seek a new start. But the truth, they tried to keep under wraps. Dana Bonner didn't leave because of basketball. She left because she couldn't stand being away from her girlfriend, Alyssa Thomas, who's playing for the Phoenix Mercury. That's right, one of the biggest roster shakeups of the season boiled down to a grown woman not being able to spend a few months apart from her partner.
Opponents are dating each other. That is a whole liability in the WNBA. If you play on one team and your spouse plays on another team and you guys are playing against each other, and yeah, you still have to go home together, or maybe if you're on the different sides of the country, then you're not going to be able to go home together, but you're still going to be talking to each other, and then whenever you guys both have off time, you're going to go home together. That's a conflict of interest. You open up the door for sabotage. You open up the door for sharing other teams' playbooks and intentions going forward. You open the door for all type of gossip, all type of things that should not be happening between two opponents. Always going back to the olden days, professional sports has been about competition. You are not friends with your competition. Back in the day, Isaiah Thomas hated Michael Jordan. That was not something that they could go home to and then be buddy. Like, no, they hated each other and they wanted to.
Now, before anyone starts twisting this the wrong way, let me make one thing absolutely clear. This isn't about who someone dates or what their relationship looks like. That's not the issue here. The real problem is when professional athletes start making career-altering decisions based on their love lives instead of their actual commitment to the game. And that's where things get messy, because it threatens the very integrity of the sport. Just think about the ripple effect. You've got players from rival teams going home to each other, possibly talking about team strategies, internal dynamics, even playbooks. How is that not a massive conflict of interest? How does that not put the competitive balance of the entire league at risk?
They want to be on the same team because they love each other, and so you got this whole different dynamic going on, and it's unprofessional. This is not something that should be allowed in the WNBA, especially at the highest level of sports. Imagine Steph Curry and LeBron James dating each other. So if you meet each other in the final, say, you may or may not want to give your all against that player because that's someone you love. You might not really want to crush that other player, but that's the instinct that you should have when you're playing sports. You should have that killer instinct against all your opponents. But if your opponent is your spouse, you You can't really have that. So you really kind of lose some of that competition, and you lose what sports is all about if you're loving on your teammates. Now, if two brothers are in the NBA, right, that's a different type of love, because brothers always want to compete. Brothers always want to duke it out. It's not the same as having a spouse. That's weird in my opinion, especially if they're opponents. Now, if they're on the same...
Imagine if this kind of thing happened in any other pro sport. Picture Steph Curry suddenly deciding he wants to force a move to whatever team LeBron's on, just because they're best friends and miss spending time together. Fans would go absolutely nuts, and rightfully so, because it messes with the spirit of real competition. But somehow, in the WNBA, we're expected to shrug and pretend this is normal, even acceptable. And the worst part, it's how Bonner went about the whole thing. She didn't come forward with a trade request or sit down with the front office for an honest talk about what she really wanted. Instead, she left the team hanging, refused to suit up, all while chalking it up to personal reasons.
Bonner. And here is DB's statement. She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group of young players."
The entire Fever organization and every single fan assumed something serious had gone down. Maybe a family emergency, maybe a health scare. People were genuinely concerned, but in the end, it turned out to be nothing more than homesickness for her girlfriend.
Bonner had no intention of coming back to the Indiana Fever. So initially we were wondering, hey, what is the reason? And the media has been feeding us this lie. The main reason why DeWanna Bonner is dipping out is because she wants to be in a starting...
Now let's talk about the financial fallout from this incredibly selfish move. The Indiana Fever invested serious money in Dana Bonner, believing she'd bring veteran leadership and championship pedigree to guide Caitlin Clark in this young squad toward a title run. That investment wasn't just symbolic, it could have gone to players who genuinely wanted to be there. Players ready to grind and contribute to the team's growth. But Bonner took the check, suited up for just 14 games, then bailed because she couldn't handle the distance from her girlfriend. And how did she go about it? By refusing to play. Essentially strong-arming her way out. That's not just unprofessional, that's theft. She took money from a franchise that believed in her, and in return, she walked away from a role that could have gone to someone truly committed to helping this team win.
It makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign.
The ripple effects of Dana Bonner's decision go far beyond just one roster spot. The Fever were left scrambling, eventually bringing back Ari McDonald on a hardship contract just to fill the gap. And forget about trading Bonner, she made the crystal clear she'd only play for Phoenix, which instantly tanked her trade value. No team is giving up assets for a player openly refusing to suit up anywhere but her preferred destination. This is exactly the kind of behavior that makes it hard to take the WNBA seriously as a professional league. Players acting like they're in a reality show, where personal drama outweighs professional duty. It's a bad look across the board. Worse still is the league's response. Instead of holding Bonner accountable, they've allowed her to walk away from a contract, land on the team she wants, and face virtually no consequences for it. What message does that send to other players unhappy with their roles? That they, too, can bail and cherry-pick their landing spot if they stir up enough drama? If the WNBA wants respect as a serious sports league, they need firm policies. No more players forcing moves just because they're partners on another roster. It's unfair, unprofessional, and it disrupts the competitive balance the league should be protecting. For certain organizations, moves like this completely undermine the structure of the draft and free agency system. That's meant to ensure competitive balance across the league. And when you factor in the Caitlin Clark angle, it becomes even more frustrating. Here's the biggest star women's basketball has ever seen, someone generating unprecedented attention, ticket sales, and visibility for the WNBA, and one of her veteran teammates just walks away mid-season because of relationship drama. Clark reportedly played a role in recruiting Bonner to Indiana, believing she was bringing in a steady, experienced leader who could help this young squad contend for a title. Instead, she got a hard, painful lesson in what happens when you put your trust in someone who clearly values personal relationships more than their professional obligations. It's got to be heartbreaking for a young player trying to build something real, something lasting, only to be abandoned by someone who was supposed to help guide that journey. That's not mentorship. That's not leadership. And the timing. It couldn't have been worse. This wasn't an off-season decision, where teams can plan and pivot. This was a mid-season betrayal, plain and simple. Mid-season! Just as the Fever were finally starting to build chemistry and look like real contenders. Bonner's selfish decision didn't just affect her, it derailed momentum the team had been working. So hard to create, all because she couldn't manage a few months of long distance. And what really stings is that Bonner had choices, if being with her girlfriend was the priority. She could have signed with Phoenix from the beginning. She could have sat down with the Fever, been honest about her situation, and tried to find a respectful solution that didn't blindside everyone. But instead, she chose the most chaotic, disruptive route possible, and that choice sets a really dangerous precedent. Because if players are allowed to just walk away whenever their personal lives get inconvenient, how is any GM supposed to build a roster? How do you form a team when commitments are treated like optional suggestions? This, from an ownership perspective, the frustration is completely justified. You're pouring millions into player salaries, expecting professionalism, accountability, and a commitment to the team. Then one of your highest paid veterans bails not because of injury, not because of conflict with the coaching staff, but because she'd rather be with her girlfriend than fulfill the role she was paid to play. In what other business is that remotely acceptable? And the Phoenix Mercury, their role in this is just as questionable. They benefited from what's essentially tampering. Without giving up a single asset or facing any real consequences, they landed championship-caliber veteran for free, all because she was willing to torpedo her current team's season to join them. That's not how fair competition is supposed to work. That's not how a professional league earns respect. Bonner's legacy took a massive hit here, and let's be honest here in that. She was once seen as a respected vet, someone with a solid resume and leadership qualities. Now, she's a player who quit mid-season because she couldn't stand being away from her girlfriend. That's the version new fans are going to remember. And it's a brutal fall from grace. As for the media, no surprise there. Instead of calling this what it is, an embarrassing, unprofessional mess, they're spinning it into some fairy tale about love conquering all. But that's not journalism. That's enabling this kind of behavior damages the competitive integrity of the entire league. Other players across the WNBA should be watching closely. Because if one player can walk away from a team mid-season without consequence, what's stopping others from doing the same the next time their personal life gets complicated? It erodes the meaning of contracts. What's the point of signing them if they can be tossed aside on a whim? The fan reaction? Overwhelmingly negative. And that should send a loud message to league officials. Fever fans feel betrayed. They welcomed Bonner, supported her, and believed she'd be a key part of their championship push. Now they're left picking up the pieces, while she walks away and lands exactly where she wanted to be from the start. This whole situation also puts a spotlight on how the WNBA handles internal discipline compared to other leagues in the NBA. A stunt like this would spark media firestorms, heavy fines, maybe even suspensions. In the WNBA, you can apparently just slap the personal reasons label on it and walk out with barely a slap on the wrist. That's a dangerous double standard. And competitively, it's a disaster. Phoenix just scored a high-level veteran for free. Meanwhile, Indiana loses a crucial piece of their carefully built roster. That's not how professional sports are supposed to operate. Teams should succeed or fail based on smart scouting, talent development, valuable time, money, and trust resources that can't be recovered. Make no mistake, teams should be making smart decisions based on talent, chemistry, and commitment, not who happens to be dating whom. And going forward, the WNBA must implement policies that close the door on this kind of behavior. Players who abandon their teams mid-season without legitimate, documented cause should face serious financial penalties and possible suspension. And teams that benefit from these moves, whether directly or through behind-the-scenes tampering, need to be held accountable to. In some ways, the Indiana Fever might end up better off. They learned exactly who Dana Bonner is before they sunk even more time, money, and belief into her leadership. But that doesn't erase the damage she left behind or the chaos her unprofessional exit caused. This whole mess could have been completely avoided if Bonner had just been upfront from the start. If being near her girlfriend was more important than her basketball career, she had every right to feel that way, but she owed it to Indiana to say so before signing. Instead, everyone's time burned through team resources and tanked her own reputation in the process. And maybe the most troubling part, the message this sends to the next generation of players. It tells them that professional commitments are optional, that if personal relationships get in the way, it's totally fine to walk out on your team. But that's not how you build a championship culture. That's not how you shape professionals who understand what it means to show up, be accountable, and put the team first at the end of the day. Dana Bonner made a choice. She put her personal life ahead of her professional obligations. And while everyone has a right to choose their priorities, choices come with consequences. The fact that the WNBA has allowed her to make that decision without any meaningful repercussions sends the wrong signal to the entire league. It tells players that they can bend the rules if their emotions are